Meet Capablanca, the former world champion who did not know any opening theory at all. But then how did he become a world champion? Well, he probably used the climb method, which you will learn in today's video, so you can play more like Capablanca. Let's begin. This game was played 67 years before you were born. Capablanca was playing with the white pieces and he was facing a very strong grandmaster, Tatakawa, with the black pieces. The game started with d4, Capablanca's favorite move. After e6, black chose the Dutch defense. The plan is to develop the king side very fast and then put the bishop on the b7 square from where it applies pressure on the white king side. Capablanca didn't want that. He played c4 following chess principles. After knight f6, the knight was pinned by Capablanca's bishop. After bishop e7, he played knight to c3, which brings us to the first rule of the climb method, which is control the center. Chess players have heard this principle millions of times, but they never actually do it. Capablanca is not making complicated plans like knight a3, knight c2, knight e3, none of that. He's just following simple chess principles. He wants to control the central squares. After castles, e3 is the move in order to open up the bishop. Now, black is following his plan, but so is Capablanca. After bishop b7, many players will get scared to castle because they know that an attack is coming. But Capablanca is different. He castled. This is why he was the world champion. He followed principles and he was not afraid of his opponent. After queen e8, threatening to bring the queen to the king side, queen e2 was played. Again, Capablanca is not worrying at all. He connects the rooks, which signals the end of the opening for the white pieces. All of white's pieces are developed. Here his opponent played the move knight to e4. You see this e4 square? It's a weak square. So the knight jumped to the e4 square. Now Capablanca said, okay, let's trade. And now black took the knight, after which we have this equal trade. It looks like Capablanca has doubled pawns, right? So he must be losing. Doubled pawns are bad after all. But wait, see what he does now, right? He goes a4. Why a4? Because this is an isolated pawn. You will see why he doubled his pawns later on in the game. a4 is played to perhaps push in the future to weaken black's queen side. After a trade, eliminating white's strong knight, black played knight c6. Again, even black is bringing his pieces into the center of the board. Now, rook fb1, what does that do? What is this rook doing here? What's wrong with Capablanca? This brings us to rule number 2 of the climb method. And L stands for lift passive pieces. Do you see this rook right here? This rook isn't doing anything at all. Capablanca knew that he had to activate it on an open file. This is a semi-open file because there's a black pawn. So he activated his rook along this b file, where in the future, maybe he can play rook to b5 and then try to attack here. After rook a e8, he plays queen h3. Again, another mysterious move. He played this move to activate his rook. Okay, we understood. But why did he play queen h3? It looks so silly. This brings us to rule number 3 of the climb method, which stands for immobilize your opponent. Basically, stop your opponent's ideas. In this position, Capablanca simply asked himself, what does my opponent want? He realized that black wants to play pawn to e5, controlling the center. So, queen h3 was played. Now if black pushes, this pawn is gone. So what did black do? Rook f6 was played in order to potentially double the rooks along the f file or to attack the white queen. Can you guess what white played here? He played f4, again following the same plan. He wants to restrict his opponent's pieces and he wants to stop black's ideas. Tatakawa played knight a5, targeting this weak pawn on c4. Here, Capablanca moved his queen back to the f3 square. Now, this queen is not misplaced on these files, where it could have been attacked by this rook here. After d6, preparing pawn to e5, he played rook to e1. Why did he move his rook here and then move it back here? It doesn't make any sense, right? Well, here's the thing. Capablanca realized that right now there is no purpose for this rook on the b file. So I need to make it useful. These rooks aren't doing much, right? Rook e1 was played in order to influence the e file. After queen d7, moving the queen out of the way. Bang! e4. But why is Capablanca trading pawns? Well, he had a plan. After the trade, his this queen and bishop battery is attacking the h7 square. But black just defends, right? Well, here's the thing. Now Capablanca's pieces are way more active than before because there are more open files. Let's see how he continues, right? He plays g3, playing calmly, because he knows that black is stuck in this position as he was immobilized by this f4 move. Black can't really do anything. So Capablanca just consolidates his advantage and plays slowly. King f8 to defend the rook. And now king g2. Again, a very calm move. What does Capablanca gain by doing this? You will see that in the endgame, which is really exciting. After rook to f7, in order to potentially double the rooks. h4. What's wrong with Capablanca, man? Why is he pushing his pawns and moving his king up like this? Well, his plan is to weaken these pawns right here by pushing the pawn to the h5 square. Finally, black played d5, challenging the center. Wait, what? Why is Capablanca trading his pieces? Why are we in this endgame now? Well, he was simply following the fourth rule of the climb method, which is make trades when you are winning. Capablanca is clearly winning here, right? The black pieces can't move at all, while his pieces are super active. So he decides to trade his pieces. And now he goes h5, attacking these pawns with the combination of this pawn and the bishop pointing towards them. After these trades, we have an endgame. Who do you think is winning here? Capablanca was sure he was better, but most players will mess this up because of this weak c3 pawn. Let's see how Capablanca masterfully converted this endgame into a victory. Now he plays rook h1. Why rook h1? Well, there was an open file here, and he realized that he could enter it and maybe attack these pawns here. Now rook h7. And after rook c6, many players will start panicking because not only is this pawn safe, our weak pawn is also being attacked and we cannot defend it. Oh no. But Capablanca was the world champion. He was calm and he played g4 because he realized that I have a 2-on-1 majority on the king side. This brings us to the fifth rule of the climb method, which is break through and win the game. Now he's pushing these pawns. After knight to c4, black will take this pawn eventually. Capablanca goes g5, again pushing his pawn and fixing this weakness. After knight to e3 check, the black knight went to the f5 square and black said, I'm safe here, I can calmly take on the c3 square without worrying any capture of the g6 pawn. But Capablanca took the knight. And now, king g3. Wait, why is he giving away this pawn? Well, he realized that the king could run forward and this pawn would be really powerful in the future. The king ran. And then Capablanca gave up another pawn in order to push this g-pawn. King g5. And now mate is being threatened on the h8 square. See, white is 2 pawns down, yet he's still winning. That's simply because the black king is in trouble due to this pawn. Now he gives a check and then wins another pawn. Look at this pawn will be gone too maybe. Now black has to come back to defend the back rank. Capablanca has finally broken through and he wins this pawn. The material is equal, but black is lost due to the possibility of passed pawns being created. King f6. And eventually all the pawns are lost. If you take here, then after the trades, the white king will gobble up all of these pawns. Takes. And in a few moves, a trade of rooks is offered. This pawn and the g-pawn are about to promote, and black resigns the game. Alright, so that was a very exciting game where Capablanca used the climb method to dominate his opponent. Do you see how simple that game was? Even you can play games like this if you practice tactics more and you master the climb method. Thanks for watching the video. Train to win. Bye bye.